Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. I'm Cindy Daychuck with Queen Bee Creations. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed already, I would love it if you do. It really helps a small channel like mine. But welcome regardless. Today we are going to do some stamping. And I'm thinking I'm going to make some Christmas cards. But this is also the precursor for I'm working up to doing this same technique for furniture. So that's going to be a later video. Trialing it out now. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some lino stamping. Now, lino stamping is short for linoleum. In the old days, back when I was young, walking through 4 feet of snow to school, we used old linoleum tiles, and these were tough to carve. So this is like a really old one. My mom dug it out of our house when I said that I was going to be doing this, and I like to think this was not mine, but it's a dog. But this stuff was really hard to carve. Like these were like the really old, legitimate linoleum stuff, and it took a lot of carving, and I remember my mom indicating I was not old enough to do it for the longest time because some of the carving blades were sharp. We've come a long way since then, and you can get what are called, lino blocks or carving blocks that look like this. They're nice and flexible, they're easy to carve, they're thick, and you can actually end up carving on both sides. So double duty. For this, because I want to do it for Christmas cards, I want to do like a Christmas picture. So what I did was I went to the internet and I downloaded a couple of images. I think they may be like this guy, a little bit more adventuresome for me. But go big, go home, give it a try. So what I did do was I just drew out a similar, I just used it for inspiration. I drew out a similar image on the front of this tile, and then I'll attempt the other one on the reverse. Now, you don't have to freehand draw it, which I did. You could take this image, you could put some tracing paper between it and just go over the lines if you wanted to, or you could cover this in pencil, like cover the back in pencil and then lay this down and then go over it, and then the pencil that's on the back would transfer on. So if you don't feel comfortable with your drawing skills, you can still do this because you don't have to be able to draw. You can still get the image on here. And I just did this in pencil and it's already smudging, but it doesn't matter. This is going to give me an idea of where I carve. Now, the carving tool just looks like this. This is like a really fine curved blade, but it comes with a number of blades that are housed down in the body of it. That one may be bigger, this one. So, they're different sizes depending upon what you're doing. Right now I've got the fine one in there, but you just turn this, it loosens for you to be able to slide that in. Let me get it in the right slot again. There we go. And then you just tighten it up. So I'll put a link. I picked this up on Amazon. I think it was like $18 or something. So not a lot, but this is soft enough. You could get away with other blades. The nice thing is that these are scooped and there's some rounded sections, so you can get some thinner lines. Once you've got your design on there, though, you need to decide. There are 2 types of stamps, meaning this. Whatever you leave behind is what is the surface that you're going to have paint on. So that's the image you're going to get. So either I take my dark lines and I carve all those out, and then I've got like this is all surface area, and whatever lines I leave behind are surface area. And so my paint is going to sit on all of that surface. So it'll be like that solid color with sections left out that will give the impression of my tree. Or I carve out all this area And then just, so I'm carving now the white, not the pencil. I'm leaving the pencil behind. And so all that I'm stamping is those rough lines to delineate the tree shape. So one is less carving, one is a little bit more carving, but it gives you either just the tree in relief, or you get the tree image, you know, within all of the colors. So you just have to decide which way you want it to be. I'm hoping that makes sense. You'll see what I mean. So this one, I'm gonna leave just the tree. I'm gonna cut out all the white. And really, this is pretty easy stuff. And I've got the small blade. I'm just gonna go up the edge of the tree to start, because I'm gonna cut all the inside section before I start to worry about all of that outside. But you can see that you're able to carve off little rims. And I'm gonna bring you in closer so that you can see it a little bit more. But just, you know, my recommendation is always don't take the tool toward you. They are sharp, right? They're carving tools. So you always wanna carve away from you so that if it slips away and it's not going to slip into you. And we just keep going. So obviously, and I'm starting with this one because it only has one little curved area up here. Straight lines, easier, right? So the first one that you're doing, like this one, straight lines, so nice and easy. This one, oh, all kinds of curlicues and things like that, where you're gonna be, rather than trying to turn the tool in all those directions, keep the tool straight and moving it, and move your block is probably the easiest way to go. But before we do anything, we have to cut enough away and go slightly deep enough. It doesn't have to be horrendously deep, but slightly deep enough that when we put our paint, it's not going to fill all those gaps and we're gonna get the nice outline that we're after. But this is a really cool way for you to be able to create a lot of the image stamps that you want, that are personal, that have the look and the feel that you want for some of your projects, some of your pieces. And as I said, I'm gonna try doing this with a bunch of blocks with different patterns and do a whole little dresser. So I will be, we'll be working up to it. So this is my test case. I'm gonna do some cards. And we'll see how it goes. We'll see how some of my lino cutting skills are, but this is way easier than the old lino, the old linoleum tiles, which is what the lino blocks are named after. So I'm gonna carry on with digging some of this out. I'm gonna bring you in closer so you can see some of that. And I just need to get that carved out before we can start doing any of our printing. And I'll try and have 2 different samples so you can see what I'm talking about. It's all good in theory. I have my carving done. I think I have my carving done. So this is where it switches up a little bit. So this is the one side where I've carved everything away from it. So you can see I've taken it down to that blue. This is this side. And I don't know if I've carved it down deep enough on this one or not. So what we want to do is test it out and see. So I have a little bit of extra paper here, which, you know, I'm gonna test on, and if it works, then cool. And then I can always use this for wrapping paper if I want to. The easiest way to go about this is to put some paint down on, I'm just gonna try some green to start because they're trees. And we'll just see how that looks. So I'm gonna use a brayer, and a brayer is just this rubber round thing so that I can roll the paint onto my stamp. And obviously this part, well, that's kind of glossy. It seemed like a nice color, you know, just a little bit of variation, a dark and a light. This kind of stamping, I mean, you could use the inks, like the IOD inks, if you wanted with it rather than paint, much the same as you can use the paint with the IOD stamps. I'm just looking at getting some different colors happening for a change, and we'll give it a go. So all I'm doing is I'm stamping it off on a different piece of paper just to test out my stamp. I just want to make sure that I've gone low enough that it's going to work, see how it goes. Okay, the tree part is good. I just have to make sure I wipe away from the sides, which makes sense. So I'll get baby wipes for that. So I do want to wipe all that off. Let's try the other side. Now the other side, remember, we need to cover the entire part of our stamp because we're going to get the full square of this image. Okay. Can you see that one? Shows up a little bit. So it seems that I'm okay with the depth on this one. I'm just going to, and I had my carving tool here 2 seconds ago. Here it is. I'm just going to carve out again 1 or 2 of the little areas, just make them a little bit more distinct where I see the paint sitting down in it. So they're just not quite as deep as some of the other areas, some of the other detail areas, which I kind of expected, but I waited to see what would happen when I actually did some of the paint in there. And that's the beauty of this, is that you can test it out, right? So I'm gonna make this a little bit deeper in spots, and I'm gonna get some baby wipes and clean these off so that we can try them on some of our real paper. Let's give this another go. So, getting a whack of paint. You could use any paint for this. I have some acrylics out, but you know, anything you've got would work. We just want a nice coat. Oh, this looks like a nice green. Okay. So what I want to avoid are any of the outside colors or edges that would show up when I stamp. And let's try it on a piece of white so that we can see it a little bit better. Oh, that's pretty cute. I like that tree. Okay, let me clean off this side a little bit just so I don't get this all over my hands. Let's try the other side. See if I got that a little bit better. Oh, that was a little too juicy. I can see already, and I'm saying that was too juicy just because I got some down into the crevices that I had carved out, right? And that's the part that I really want to just stay clear. It's the outline that gets the color, and the inside detail is what shows up in relief, ideally. So you just want to make sure you don't move it once it goes down, so that it just stays, and that you pull it up. Oh, that just really likes to stick on there. Okay. I don't like that as well. It doesn't show up. I think that maybe I need this to be wetter. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the paint needs to be a little bit thinner for this one. That's possible. Okay, let me try that one again. Okay, because I'm curious now, I'm going to try it with green ink and see, especially that big one, just see if maybe the paint is a little too heavy to do like that full surface, and maybe I'd have better luck. So I'm just using the New Grass color from IOD, and I haven't used the green in a while, so I'm just juicing up the pad a little bit. And then we'll see about covering my whole stamp. Looks nice and bright and green. I'll just push that on and see. Oh, so much better, you guys. Look at that with the ink. That actually looks cute now. Okay, I like that one. Yep, okay, I like that with the ink a lot. The raised one's not too bad with the paint. That can be thicker, but yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so what I'm going to do is do some more stamping, get these on some of my cards, and then come back and we can finish them up a little bit together so that you can see where I'm going. Those ones I'm going to use the images that I already stamped. This one will put a new fresh image on. I didn't know that, so I just took 8.5 by 11 paper and I cut it down. This is like cardstock paper. And I'm going to stamp directly on some. I've done some on the white, and I'll show you taking that down a little bit. These ones, you know, especially if I do like the full image on this, I will cut the card down. So I'll do this right at the edge of it, so then I can cut the card down to size rather than I just didn't pre-cut them all or make them all work the way that they needed to. Although that's the right height, I could do them up and down. Okay, I'm just gonna stamp now. Definitely using the ink, the IOD ink with this one for sure. I don't mind the paint on this one, so I'm just gonna get some more white paper and do a little bit of stamping. I like the ink on it though. That's good. Okay, so far I'm pleased with my carving. That was the main thing. Did I carve okay? And especially the curlicue one. That was hard. For the ones that I stamped side by side, I just took my cutter and I cut them down to card size. For some of these that I stamped on the same sheet, I'm just looking at giving them a more rough or kind of rustic edging. So I'm just taking a ruler, I am just holding it in place, and then I am just kind of pulling against it to get some rough edging, just to make it a little bit more interesting. These ones are just on flat paper, they're not on the folded cardstock, so these will ultimately get attached to the front of a card. So for those ones, then I'm just looking at making the edging a little bit more fun, right? I'm just deciding whether this tree should be kind of tree shape. Well, we'll try one. Oops, what's the worst that can happen, right? Let's try it. Okay, so I am going to keep tearing and cutting and getting these all lined up so then we can get the cards finished off. If you are a major card maker, then you have tons of card making supplies. You got all the stamps and the bells and the whistles and the embossing stuff, and so you can definitely go to town with this, and then hopefully, you know, the Lino blocks just becomes another tool in your arsenal of card making. If, however, you're like me and you really don't ever make cards, then, you know, you can keep it simple. And I'm gonna keep these ones simple because that's how I roll. You could get super fancy and embellish these, but you could also keep them nice and simple. So, you know, just having the plain little cards, you can stamp up a mess of these so that you always have them available. Because as much as I did a Christmas theme, it doesn't have to be Christmas, right? It could be any kind of design that you want that's just gonna be a nice thank you card. Now, for some of these, I put a little insert of a contrasting color inside so I have a place to be able to stamp a bit of a message, right? So large or small, and you can see that I've kept it pretty simple. And really all that I did was when I cut down one card, I kept the little pieces and I used them as a backing on some of the others to add a little bit of contrast. But really what you're looking at doing now is just take some little Christmas stamps if you have some. I've got some of the IOD. I have some little, you know, stamping up ones. Is this stamping up? I just bought a box of stamps off of Facebook Marketplace from someone that was getting rid of their daughter's old supplies. So I didn't buy any of these. I mean, I think I paid $40 and I got a huge big box of mixed stamps. So I went super, super inexpensive. But you know what? Take whatever stamps you have. Kind of take some of the IOD ink. I may need to get a little bit more black on there and just stamp up your message. And then you're good to go. You got cute little cards with your own kind of stamp on them, whatever you want to do. This is obviously, I just put glue all over the back of this because I got a mess of glue here. We'll just put you off to the side to dry nicely, shall we? But you've got lots of options with this, with whatever shapes, whatever sayings you want, whatever you want your cards to be able to look like, you're able to set this up however you'd like. now that I've practiced on using the Lino tiles, I am going to be doing a future project using the tiles on a piece of furniture, which, I don't know, could get me into a whole other mess of trouble. But this was a lot of fun. And unlike the old-fashioned linoleum tiles, they carve super easy. And then I have these. This doesn't go away. I now have these that I could stamp again next year for Christmas. I could add more to it, be able to increase my repertoire. But I think it's a fun way to be able to personalize some little cards, doing them up pretty fast. The other thing, obviously, that you can do is to stamp paper. And then now you can have your own wrapping paper as well. So this was a lot of fun. I hope you give it a try. If you do, let me know. You know I love to hear from you. Looking forward to seeing you on the next one. And until then, take care.